Welcome, everyone, in our series of webinars on women's homelessness. My name is Dalma Fabian, and I work as a policy officer for FEANZA, and I'm coordinating our community of practice on women's homelessness. As we are waiting for the participants to join, maybe it's worth to say that it's the second webinar that focuses on motherhood and homelessness. Last year we had the first edition, and which is also available online on our website. If you would like to listen to it, there was a big demand for a second webinar with the same topic, which is a very important topic, because for so long services failed to recognize and acknowledge homeless mothers, yet we know that it's very important that the women receive the right support around their experience of motherhood. I'm still waiting for more participants to join, and then we will start our webinar. In the meantime, I would like to tell you that the registrations for our annual FEANZA forum is open, so please check out our website. It will take place in Vienna in June, with a workshop on women's homelessness and plenty of site visits for women services. And places are filling up fast, so secure your place very soon. You can find more information and the program on our website. Okay, maybe I wait another minute, and then we can kick off the webinar. Okay, so let's get started. Like I said, it's a very important topic that FEANZA is also collecting expertise and experience with, and because it's important to see how services are adapted so that they respond to the needs of women who are in situation of homelessness and are mothers. It can be it's very important that we share experience, because this can be hard conversation, how to ask the question, how to manage expectations, how to adapt services to take into account if women would like to gain contact with their children, how to manage the expectations around that. So there are plenty of questions, and we're going to discuss all this today with our two speakers who will start with their presentation. I'm going to introduce them. Claire O'Sullivan is the first speaker. She's from Waterford, Ireland, and she's managing a transitional accommodation for women. She will be followed by two speakers from the Housing First for Women project in Berlin, Christin Weyershausen and Lena Wild. And then we will have a question and answer session. For this, you can send your questions right away to in the question and answers box or in the chat. You can also send any message you would like for us in the chat, or introduce yourself, where you're from, so that we know who is participating in the webinar. Okay, so let's get started. Claire, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen. Can you see that, Dalma? Yeah. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Claire O'Sullivan. I'm absolutely delighted to be here and invited to speak today about a topic that I'm very passionate about, a topic that is so important for all of us, this idea of looking at services for women in homelessness. And I'm going to particularly be focusing on today the experiences of mothers in services that are designed for homelessness. So in Ireland, many of you may be aware, but in Ireland, we have had a very dark past in how we treat women historically. And Tintéan was established in 1999. So we're in existence for 25 years this year. And I'm very proud to say that Tintéan has remained a gender-specific, female-only service since 1999. Obviously, as the homeless crisis and housing crisis has worsened in Ireland over the years, there has been pressure to mix the service. There has been pressure to increase capacity in that way. But we have stayed strong and said no. It's very important for us that we are female specific. So we are for women and families. We have a number of different services: emergency, long-term supported. But what I'm going to speak about today is our transitional service, and the group that we established within that transitional service for women. So women's homelessness in Ireland has grown since 2014 at a faster rate than men. So some research from Dr. Paula Mayock would state that women's homelessness rose 171% since 2014, as opposed to men's homelessness at 133%. And yet we are aware that gender is largely ignored when it comes to research. And obviously, if it's ignored when it comes to research, then it can be ignored in policy and practice. So in our service, in the heart of Waterford City, we have a transitional service. This is an apartment block. We have 10 apartments where each person has their own individual independent living. And then we have offices on site and provide a 24/7 service. So there are staff available on site. We also have 2 men on our staffing. So one is a housing officer for our long-term housing, and one is a support worker who is absolutely adored by all of the women on the service. But the women said to us they felt safer with a largely female staff. So we have also maintained the rest of our staff are all female. We run a lot of groups in our service. We do a lot of one-to-one work and a lot of groups for our women experiencing homelessness. And we realized that even though women are categorized as single women with the local authority when they come into our service, a lot of them are not single women at all. They are actually mommies, but they are separated from their children. So if they come into us, they may have some complexities with active addiction, with physical health issues, with mental health issues. But a lot of them are mothers, but are separated from their children. They might live with us in this service for 18 months to 2 years. And yet one thing we discovered was when they come together in these groups, they don't speak about their children at all. They find it very difficult to speak to staff about their children and their experience, but they do not speak to each other about their experience. So we started to think, well, that's not okay, because we know as mothers and as our identity as mothers, speaking about our children and our experience of pregnancy and childbirth and so on is very important. So what was happening as to why they were not speaking? So we started to talk in-house about what we could do to address this. And we first looked to see if there was any support services across Ireland that were providing a safe space for women in this unique, quite niche experience of being separated from their children and experiencing homelessness. And we realised there wasn't. We looked to see if there was any specialist counselling service for these women to help them address the very real grief and loss that they were experiencing, because their children were still living, yet they very often had no contact or very little contact, and they had no control really over what was happening in this situation. We realised there was nothing out there, absolutely nothing out there for them. And also for a lot of our women who may be in active addiction, counselling is often not something that is recommended for them because it is seen as a relapse factor, as a trigger, as something that might activate a trauma response and thereby lead to an increased substance use. So then we looked at the skill set within our own organisation and realised we have a lot of highly skilled facilitators. We are running a lot of groups and a lot of one-to-one sessions, and there's a lot of skill set within our organisation. So we said, right, we need to set something up that is dedicated for these women. As you can see on the slide here, love is the universal language that everybody can speak. Yet their love of their children was something that they did not feel that they had a safe space to speak about. So we wanted to change this. We circulated a survey to all of the residents, asking them if this is something they wanted. And 100% of them said they not only wanted this, but they needed it. The project workers, the case managers, also met with them on a one-to-one basis. It's important to note that all of our women are very much linked in with different services, whether it's substance misuse services, mental health services, wherever they are. Some women are not, and that is okay too. So we accept women whether they are linked in with services or not. Some of the survey responses, I just wanted to share some of them because I think it really captures their voices, or what really captures what was going on here for them. I feel no joy at the moment. I am heartbroken. I don't know what my purpose is. I have no involvement in my children's lives. So the sadness and the heartbreak really comes out, doesn't it, in these slides. When we started the group, it was very important to us that we created a safe space for women. We are aware from working with women for so many years that women will only come into spaces where they feel safety. So it was important for us that we provided psychological safety, emotional safety, physical safety. How we did this, the women said they wanted the space to be facilitated by staff, but they wanted it to be facilitated by staff who were mothers. That was important to them. So we said we can do that, absolutely. We did offer it to be unfacilitated by staff, just peer-led, but they said for now they wanted it to be staff-led. We set up low lighting. We played lovely light background music in the background. We started every session with some mindfulness meditation to ground people. The group themselves established their expectations of the group and how they wanted the group to be. It's important to note that even in the survey, we asked for their input in what they wanted the group to look at. And they wanted it to look at the shame and the stigma that they were experiencing from society. As I said at the beginning, Ireland has a very difficult track record in how we treat mothers. And even still in society, I think across the world, our perception of what is a good mother versus a bad mother is something that women feel very deeply. So this is something we really wanted to look at. On week one on the group, women spoke about not feeling like they deserve to call themselves a mother, feeling that they failed, saying that people on the outside and even within their own families think that I chose drugs over my children. So they were battling with a lot of these feelings themselves, which is absolutely huge. And remember, before these women came into this group, they may have been living in Tintéan for 6 months. They may have been living there for 12 months, yet they did not know that each other were mothers. So when we saw their eyes light up when they started to share their stories, that was absolutely huge. So I've gone into this, that they requested it to be facilitated by staff. I always go ahead of myself. So I'm just going to take you through just a couple of slides as to what we covered within the groups. And again, as I said, this was a pilot group, so it was subject to change as we go, but we're running it again now, and they have asked for it to remain the same for now. So we started to look at the stages of grief. So Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and her stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, and the later stage of meaning that was added. We looked at the fact that there can be disenfranchised grief, complex and complicated grief, because their children are alive, yet they don't have any access for the most part. And we really looked at anger in particular, because one of the things that we heard a lot from them was when they were going into child and care reviews with TUSLA, who are the Child and Family Agency, state agency here for children in Ireland, anger was very often interpreted as aggression. And so a woman would have to battle with her feelings of anger when she was going into that space, in case social workers would view that as aggression and then believe they have to risk assess around it. Really, what we wanted to do was normalize these feelings. So we spoke about the fact that anger is completely normal for women. That if we look at the impact of stress on the body, a woman may be living with a completely heightened and activated sympathetic nervous system and may never have learned or had the opportunity to experience how you can tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, you know, that rest and digest system, so that we can actually slow down and calm down the stress responses in our body. But equally, it was around normalizing it and realizing if you are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, why would you not be in any of those trauma response states because of what you have experienced in your life? We are aware that childhood sexual abuse, domestic violence are huge indicators for homelessness in the future. So we are aware that every woman that comes in through our door has experienced trauma in their lives. So very often they're living in these feelings of stress. So they can be very heightened. A lot of the time, their baseline might be very heightened, and they're very alert to being aware of how people are perceiving them, because they are scanning their environment for danger all of the time. So it was important for us to, I suppose, to share information around that. We dealt a lot around self-care mechanisms to reduce the stress in their lives. So the women would go for walks in between the groups. The group was once a week, but we gave everybody a journal in the beginning, a beautiful journal, so that they could journal their own experiences in between sessions. And this was private to them completely. But we also spoke about good sleep hygiene, getting to sleep earlier, waking up earlier. We are aware that obviously nightmares and sleep terrors are something that a lot of our women who have experienced trauma have in their life. So having staff available throughout the night on site so that they can come down and have a cup of tea or a cup of hot chocolate and just maybe distract themselves from what happened or speak about what happened was very important. This was one of the most important sessions that we had, sharing your birth story. For anybody that's on this webinar today, if you have ever been pregnant, then you will be aware of how important it is for you to be able to share that experience. If you've ever given birth, then you will be aware of how important it is. If you're out with your female friends, more often than not, the conversation will go about to how many children do you have? What was your pregnancy like? What was your birth story? But what we learned in this group was that for our mothers experiencing homelessness, they did not have the same opportunity to share those experiences. And why? Because very often, if they start to get involved in those experiences and sharing those stories, well, then the next question might be, how old are your children now? How are your children? What school are they going to? You know, are they making their communion this year or making their confirmation this year? When is their birthday? And that brings up a lot of painful feelings. And it also means they have to think about, how am I going to speak about my experience? How am I going to explain that my children don't live with me? How am I going to explain that the social workers took my children and I don't get to see my children? But Creating the safe space where the women could come together and actually speak about this was absolutely huge. Other sessions, and we thought we would cover this in one session, but this needed 2 or 3 sessions. How to plan for special events, particularly that you may not be a part of. Christmas needed to be its own one. And we were aware that this would happen because within our transitional service staff, we do safety planning a lot around Christmas in particular for mommies who may not be able to see their children. Often they're not able to see their children because the children are still living with the perpetrator of violence. So who will be very much in control about whether the woman gets to actually come and see the children or not. We talked about how to communicate in those child and care reviews, communicating to social workers that, yes, I feel angry right now, but guess what? Anger is normal. It's a stage of grieving that I'm going through. Talk as the group progressed. She has the same story as me. I'm not alone. I'm trying my best. And this one I think is huge. I still am a mother, because that lack of identity that women experience when we don't provide the safe space for them to speak about their mothering, for them to speak about the fact that, yes, there may be negative elements, and it is about taking ownership of those too, but there also have been joyful experiences, and there also can be hope. So it's about eliciting the hope. We then gave a survey at the end because we wanted to see, did we capture this right? Is there something you want to change? And I just wanted to share a couple of these, and I'm finished then, because I think, again, the women's words speak far greater than I can about their experience. So in the group, we had confidentiality. We could speak openly about our children. We could get upset, laugh or cry, and still feel safe within the people in the room. Safety comes through all of everything that our women experience that they need. I was able to speak about my experience with TUSLA, that's the Child and Family Agency in Ireland, and my family, things I've never spoken about before. I felt a massive weight off my shoulders. When I lost custody of my kids, I didn't feel like a mother anymore. I felt I lost all those rights to brand myself as a mother up until we did the mothers group. And now I feel I have rights as a mother again and was hopeful, and I don't feel alone anymore. And I'm just going to end by saying, none of this I consider as really, huge. It did not take massive investment of finances. It was staff time. It was thinking about things a little bit differently and saying, okay, let's be creative here. We're missing something. So how can we look together as a team to see that how we can create something else that we might be able to help them tap into their experience? And what I will say now, after running the group, and it's an ongoing group now, is in every group that these women are now part of in Tintéan, they now speak about their children, where they never spoke about them to each other before or even to staff. Now their children, even if they don't have contact, are a part of their lives because they feel they can speak about them. One woman has 2 children. She only ever spoke about one child because that child was with family, whereas the other child was in care of the state. Now she speaks about her 2 children. So thank you very much for listening. And if you can take anything away, I suppose, from what I've shared today, it's whether you're a female-specific service or you have a mixed service. Let's look to see how we can create safe spaces to allow women to share their experiences. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire, for this excellent and very emotional presentation. I think it's an excellent example of how to listen to women. What do they want and what do they need? And then creating that emotional and physical safe space so that they can fully embrace their identity is very important. So and then also I think it's very strong the peer support element of it, how it's in a group setting. That's great. And congratulations to Tintéan for the 25th anniversary. It's a great example how of women-only services, and also to keeping up those services in the context of pressure for more for mixed services. So that's great news. Okay, shall we continue with Christine and Lena? The floor is yours.
Hi. Thank you, Claire, for your beautiful insights. Yeah, it was so inspiring, and it's such an important work you do. So my name is Christin Weyershausen. I'm the leader of Housing First for Women in Berlin.
And my name is Lena Wild. I'm a social worker in the project. Hi.
And we have a PowerPoint for you.
It's this one. All right.
Okay, so we start here to tell you something about the women and especially the mothers in our project. It works. Okay. So I give you a quick overview about what we want to talk about. It's we start with our project, some facts and figures about it, then about female homelessness, and then we would like to talk about women as mothers in Housing First for Women, and a short about our goals. So I tell you something about the history of Housing First for Women. We started in October 2018 with a pilot project, and it was till December 2021, and from 2022 till today we extended our target group, and we get a second office, and we have a lot of more stuff. Yes, and since summer 2023, we have 6 Housing First projects in Berlin. We started with 2 Housing First projects, and we are the only Housing First project only for women. And since 2023, also for mothers. Yeah. So we have actually we have a team with 6 social workers, 1 psychologist, 1 assistant for office work, a team leader, 1 handy worker, and 1 public relations and acquisition of apartments person. Yeah. So it's a big team, and I think we grow more and more. Yeah.
So to our target group, we are, as Christine already said, we are only offering the project for adult homeless single women, and also to homeless mothers with their children, and women who are not able to seek out and use standard care services on their own anymore, or not at all. And our target group is for women only who are able to pay the rent, for example, by receiving social support from the government or through their own income. And because we give them their own rental contract, so we don't give them the houses as from our project, but they signed a contract on their own, which is really good. And also the target group is for women who cannot follow the required steps for the social support, and women suffering, for example, from various mental issues and other conditions, and drug addictions and these kind of things. And our participants, the number is growing like a lot, because we have like 93 women in apartments already, And no, I think it's 94 because one signed this morning, one girl
Yeah.
signed her contract. This is really good for us. We're really happy for her. And yeah, from these 94, there are 12 mothers and 20 children in our project included. So as women, homeless women face other special needs and protection than like mixed homeless people or like as men, because of the gender specific violence and the sexual oppression and power dynamics they often face. Also, homeless women need additional gender specific health requirements, as for example, for pregnancy and motherhood, and also like menstruation. Also, with homelessness, there comes difficult access to hygiene care and protective measures, for example, for the sexually transmitted diseases. And also a big problem what we face a lot in our work is the hidden homelessness, which is a strategy where they like seeking protection, but at the same time the target group becomes invisible for help providers and and also for society. So it's really hard to make to put a spotlight on that problem. And also like pregnancy and motherhood especially make each of the above points really, really more complex, and we have to deal with that in our work.
Yeah. So I tell you something about the motherhood in our project. As I said, since 2023, so it's a very short term. The project has also been accepting women with children. And yeah, we have a lot of learnings since that. And I think we also will have in the future. It's so important that we have reliable relationships to the mothers. As Claire said, there are a lot of traumata and a lot of be ashamed of things happened. We have mothers which have their children with them and sleep on, by friends or somewhere. We also have mothers where the children don't live with them anymore. Yeah, and a lot of people who have bad experiences with the social system. So it's really important to have a reliable relationship. So we started to develop a child protecting program with the government here. It was sorry, it was a prerequisite. I'm sorry, I'm not. It's not my mother language. For supporting mothers with children in our project. First, it was a little fight because we don't want to do that. But now we have the learning that it's really good also for the women and for us to come in a good relationship, because we have a lot more meetings with them, and we can go in a good contact. And so the child protection program means that we have fixed appointments with the mothers and their children in the first 3 months to get an impression of what they need, or if they need something. And our experience is that most mothers are already connected to the support system. So they have a family helper, or they have contact with the youth welfare office. or have no need at all. So far, there has not been a single case in which we have had to contact the youth welfare office. Yeah. So that also was our learning, that it's homelessness and motherhood does not mean that the mothers are not able to be with their children. It's possible. It's really possible. So yeah, and also our learning is that a good working social system is really, really important for the mothers especially, and most of them have not such a good social system. So it's part of our work to work with them on a good social system, which empowers them. Yeah, and we try to support whenever it's needful and be invisible whenever it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, so we try to link them also to, as for example, Claire said, like a mother's group, or just being the connector and doing the network with them.
Yeah. So we have figured out some helpful offers. So the SKF, it's our organization we work for, is have a lot of various offers for pregnant women that we can prefer to, like pregnancy advice or groups for women. Also from the government and the city, there are a lot of offers we can connect to. Yeah, and here in our office we have a play area for the kids, and we can organize childcare via the appointments with us. So the women have a space for their own, and they can concentrate of the things they want to salute.
To the situations to be handled when they need a little bit of space on their own, but also their childcare is covered during that times.
Yeah. And also it's part of, because Berlin is a big city and we have a lot of offers here, and it's also changes, and so we have to be up to date to all the programs we have here, and figure out what's new and what we can, what could be helpful for the mothers in our organization.
Okay, so our goals means that we try to give to women and their children as much freedom as possible and as much protection as necessary. Always in, we're always in a conversation with the women about this as well. Also, we want to offer the children, of course, a safe home, or the mother a stable environment to, for example, meet their children, or settle down and get some rest, and then go to the meetings with their children who are not placed with them. We want to always provide access to various support services, and we give them the feeling that we are approachable at any time, and we are supportive for both the mothers and their children. So we are always thinking them with, we're including them in our work. And of course, the international networking and exchange and much more. So yeah, the quality of housing first for women lies in voluntarily reliable and permanent offers, and it gives the women and their children the ability to stay in the home and not to end up on the street again. And this gives them the support they need. And that's it from our side. Yeah, so thank you so much for your attention, and we're thrilled to get to your questions.
Thank you very much, Christine and Lena, for your presentation. It was excellent, and thank you for sharing your learnings. You said so much. What I think is really key is the reliable relationships that you are building with women, especially as you mentioned the trauma and the shame women are often feeling, and the fear and suspicion as well because of previous experience. I also very much like that you support both children and women, because often it's not the case, and that you support you provide support around child protection as well. Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. We still have time for questions, so I invite all participants to send us their questions in the box. So far I don't see any questions. That just means that your presentations are complete and full. You can also say share comments in the chat box if you would like to reflect on the presentation that have been shared. I wait for a while, and then let's see.
Dalma, would it be okay if I ask a question of the other lady?
Absolutely, Claire, go ahead.
Thank you. I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you. I'm so interested. We have a lot of Housing First in Ireland, but no Housing First specific for women. And I'm looking at, you just noticed there about a child protection being a prerequisite for entry. I'm just wondering if you can say a little bit more about that. What you mean by prerequisite? Is it something more than just that you would notify if there was a child protection issue, or is there something they need to sign up to? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, so we were discussing the answers already. Sorry. So yeah, we offer, like, when the women enter our project, we ask them, when they're mothers, we ask them to sign a kind of special contract with us to agree on these mandatory visits, for example. And of course, in Germany, if there's a case of child, if there's a child protection issue, then you have to report it. But also we really have to keep an eye on, like, at one side keeping the child safe, but also not destroying the relationship with the mothers, which could be a problem. But for now, we never faced it yet. But of course, then we have to talk to other, like, providers about in the network, probably from the women, and just check how to face that issue, and also have a conversation with the women first. And so we're not calling the police directly, or like so it's this is but they accept these kind of agreements first when they come to the project. And I mean, they're also interested in the well-being of the child. So of course they're super happy about these agreements when they be like, oh yeah, I'm glad that somebody's coming and checking on me and my child, because they want the best for their child as well. So yeah.
Thank you.
So often the women tell us that there is a lot of more work to do for us, because they have to find a kindergarten place or a new school place or something like that. So they are very happy that we make so many appointments with them and can work with them.
Yeah, because Housing First offers like the project long a guidance and consultation if it needed. So they were super happy to come back to that offers. Yes,
I think it's brilliant because it provides for a community around a woman where she may not have it. And we know in other countries, community is still such a huge, generations of families. And maybe we miss that sometimes in some of our European countries. And I think the other part that's excellent that you said is, and I think it is this safety for women, is when they know what's happening. And women need to be told, and for us to be transparent with them about child protection. But as you said, I took notes. You said that you are invisible when it is possible to be invisible. And I love that, because you're not trying to monitor all the time. You're not trying to be police. You're giving as much freedom as possible and as much protection as necessary. I love it. Thank you.
Claire, I absolutely agree, and I think it also shows that this trust in the relationship, that women feel that they can trust in your services, so that they don't need to underreport problems, but you are there to help them. I have a question. I don't know if we have received any, but I have a question to Claire about the mothers group. Because I think it's a very important form of peer support, as I said earlier, and you mentioned that it's a staff that is leading the group sessions, and when you continue, which is great that you're continuing this group, are you keeping the same format, or what's the difference in dynamics when it's not led by staff?
It's an interesting one, because we thought that they would really want it to be peer facilitated. And so, like with every group we do that, that's fine, of course. But they said no. They said because it was so new and new for them, they didn't know how they were going to be about speaking about their experience. So they asked for it to be facilitated by staff that are mothers. But we have left it, even when we reviewed it and started again, and we asked, okay, will we do something different? Was there other topics? And they said, no, we want to do the same topics again. And what we found from running it the second time was that their level of engagement had increased. So there was more to share. So what we're finding the second time around is there's more around the experiences of their pregnancy. So they would share more about babies that had died, that they would have gone from a homeless hostel to the hospital and returned, given birth to maybe a baby that had died, and then returned to the homeless hostel and no support, and feeling they had no support and nobody to speak to. And particularly where it was a mixed hostel, but sometimes even not a mixed hostel, but still not feeling that they could speak about this, because they had internalized the shame that, oh, it must be something I did, or society will think it was my fault. I couldn't keep my baby safe. So we're hoping, and we think that it will be peer-led completely down the line when they want to do that.
Thank you, Claire. We have a question. Do you work with racialized women and mothers? And if so, how is your relation with other services, and what are your strategies to improve the relationship with the mothers and services outside your organization? I work with one undocumented woman and mother, and we felt alone fighting against discrimination. Do you have any advice on this matter? I think this question is for both of you, like to all of you. Who would like to start?
I just have my microphone off, so I will, but I'll allow plenty time. I think for us, absolutely we do. I think cultural competencies are something that's hugely important, and we don't have enough expertise in it, and that's the truth. I think we are all so busy doing the work that we don't have the time or give the time to actually increase our cultural competencies. It's part of our own strategy for the next few years that we need to improve, because we do. We have a big migrant population in Ireland as well. And it's something, even with violence within their own communities and female genital mutilation and different things, that we're only getting to grips with in Ireland now. So I can't tell you that we're brilliant at it, but what I will tell you is we own it. And we will say, but we shouldn't be looking to people, you know, to that community to teach us either. So we need to do better, but we are trying.
Thank you, Claire. Christine and Lena?
I'd say like the experiences are similar than that. Like we really try to connect them, for example, to groups in the neighborhood, or like in Berlin at all, for example, for people who are like also migrated from the same country or something. But it is hard, and we do also struggle with all the asylum restrictions, for example, and we are facing also a lot of difficulties and discrimination, I'd say, and it's hard to get along with that issue properly.
For example, when they only have a short stay here in I don't know, like 6 months or so, we are not able to find an apartment for them because nobody will give them. So this is a big problem.
Yeah. That's a big problem in other countries as well. We have also a question to Claire, but maybe we can extend it. The question is, are there more projects, institutions like yours in Ireland with a similar approach? I would say focus on mothers in situation of homelessness, but maybe I can invite Christine and Lena to respond as well, if it's the case in Berlin and in Germany, and maybe others as well from Europe can send us if they have similar practices.
I think in Ireland, so we have some female specific accommodation that is emergency accommodation. So hostels, we do have some female specific, but for transitional, no. And I think, you know, largely a lot of countries maybe have moved away from transitional, particularly with Housing First, which we understand. I used to also be part of a Housing First project. I love it. We would say that everything that we do is with Housing First principles. And and in the southeast in Ireland, the local authorities are very supportive of having a variety of options for men and women. And we very much see that having a situation where a woman can come in and stay for up to 2 years. Now, we very often will then house them long-term as well. So we can, with our own housing stock, and we keep acquiring more housing stock because there is no private rented really in Ireland now for our women. So we will house a lot of them, particularly where they have long-term needs also. But we see that giving the space allows us to press pause and take more time to help them with their trauma. Whereas if we're trying to look at it as an emergency response all of the time, then we're only focusing on the move on, and we're not focusing on the really deep, issues that are maybe keeping them in that cycle. But I have not come across any other service that has a mothers group as we are doing. So I think there's huge scope for that to happen.
Thank you, Claire. Christine and Lena, would you like to respond?
Like to the other question in the chat, or to directly Claire's comment?
Yeah, maybe just I would be interested. I mean, I know that Housing First for Women, you don't have other Housing First projects for women in Berlin or in Germany.
There's one in Austria. But
we are the only one in Germany.
Yes. So and for us it's like also a big thing to face, because we also have like a lot of women who want to need help from our side. So it's as you said, Claire, it's sometimes really hard to look on long-term goals instead of like only fixing emergency issues. And but yeah, as we increased our team, for example, we try to face more of these long-term issues, but it is indeed hard to keep them in focus and to make space for all these things that they're not visible in the beginning. And as you said, like it's a lot of trauma, and people and women are not talking about this that much. So of course it's really important for us to read between the lines and try to focus on what's the real issue for the women in that moment, because of course we probably think, okay, it's housing, and then it's probably it's stuff with the government, but in reality sometimes it's like something completely different, and it's really important to keep an eye on these issues as well.
And it's really good. We have a psychologist for the women, and we can talk with a psychologist about if we have the impression a woman needs to talk about something more deeply. And also the women are free to come to her and talk about everything. So it's a space for them. They can talk about difficult things.
Yeah, and she also is in contact with all of our clients. She's sending letters when the women are moving in. She's saying like, hi, I'm the psychologist of the project. I'm here to listen to you, and you can come to me whenever you need it. So she's like giving the permanent offers, which is also really important for the women we experienced.
And I think we have an opportunity now, because there is a growing movement towards recognizing the needs of women as different to the needs of men. And I noticed, like in one of the comments around, and it's true, we need to look at menopause. We need to look at, women and their period health. And there's so many different, even around our assessments, we need to look at how we assess for these things, because we don't even ask those questions very often. So we have an opportunity now, and in Ireland, there is a growing move towards recognizing the need for gender-specific services.
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100%, and that's why FEANSA have launched the community of practice on women's homelessness, and we are very eager to continue this work for advocating for gendered services for women across Europe. I'm just looking at the chat. We have some comments and on the from London on a good example of specialist services that are doing considered and conscious work to reach Black and global majority women. I think that's very important. And we also have another comment on how to diversify the staff team to help to change the monoethnic lens so that we can develop more of this cultural approach, as Claire mentioned it, and lower the access barriers for clients. Okay, I think, and we have a good practice from Austria. They will be also presenting at our annual FEANSA forum, Lila Wond from Innsbruck. I think our webinar is coming to an end. I would like to thank for Claire, Christine, and Lena for speaking with us this morning, and also to share their experience and very inspiring practices. We have recorded this webinar, so we will be sending you the recordings, and we'll make the presentations available so that others can access it. And as Claire said, just some of these practices don't require much financial resources, but more commitment to better respond to women's needs. So thank you very much for everyone and all the participants who joined this webinar, and we will coming back to you with the next webinar in May. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.